Peace, Kevin L. Let's get into the Book of Enoch, because that's been on deck a whole lot. You know what I mean? People be seeing 11, and since 11:11, yeah, people have been talking about it. Enoch, the missing books. You know what I mean? The fallen angels, all that. So, seeing as everything is going on with the 11:11, let's go to chapter 11 of the Holy Tablets, which is El Sarunaat, Shil, Adafa. The Secrets of Adafa. Kulum. Tablet 1. Will. The story of Adafa, son of Jared. And when you're studying this stuff, you know what I mean, you should look up what the names mean. Like Jared. Jared means descent or fall or come down, which makes it interesting that this book talks about the fallen or those who fell. But let's start tablet 1. Will, the story of Adafa, son of Jared. Lo, let us speak to you about the best of my students. He was called Adafa, who is called in tones Aknuk or Enoch, and in rhythm Idris. He was the son of Silam and Jared, who was the son of Mahalaleel, who was the son of Canaan, who was the son of Enosh, who was the son of Seth, who was the son of Cadmon, who was the son of Atum and Lilith. He was faithful as the sea, and he was born of the earth. Yet his soul lives in my house, the garden of Malakut. He could call every star by its name, and he knew every Anunnaki by their name, be they Serufet or Gerubate. Right? Said he was born in the land of Cadmon, near the two Niles, just beneath Havilah and just above Cush. Right? Adafa, son of Jared, begat Methuselah at 65 years of age. You should also check the numbers. You know what I mean? Like 6 and 5, or 6 plus 5 is 11. And he lived to witness 365 years. 365 years, like 365 days. Adafa's wife was named Talaba. Talaba was the daughter of Jared's brother, Salan. Methuselah at 187 years begot Lamech, who in tones is called Lamech, but in rhythm he is called Lamech, who lived to be 182. This Lamech is not to be mistaken with the Lamech, father of Tubal Cain, who bore the seven curse. Seven curse. He begot our son Utnapishtim, who is called in tones Noach, and in rhythm Nuh, from the times of the rain and flood. Right? From the time of the rains and flood. Like Noah before the flood. In this case, Noah is the oceanic, atmospheric, you know what I mean, and altitude center. You know what I mean? Or NOAA. I think that's what it means. You can look it up though. So these was the ones that was from the times of the rain and flood. He was also known as Zeusudra. Noah was. Methuselah was mystified about his father Adafa's death. So when his time came, he refused to die, telling Israel that he couldn't until he knew what happened to his father. Only a news bearer could tell him. So at 969 years. These numbers is key. Years of earth time. He waited for our servant Utnapishtim of the agreeable seed. The news bearer Utnapishtim was born to Lamech, the son of Methuselah, in 1056. Right? 3 years later, the perfect and noble Adafa walked into the realm of Aliun El. Utnapishtim spent much of his youth up to age 13 with the venerated Methuselah, explaining Adafa's translation up through the seven heavens on to Malakut. Dissecting his name in the original language, we learn about the character of this man, Adafa, who was also called Enoch, meaning, quote, one who studies, and Idris from Darasa, quote, to study, and Darasa, quote, instruct, teach. Hence, Adafa was a student of the Anunnaki, or extraterrestrials. He studied like an Anunnaki, even though he was born in this planet Tiamat, Earth. It was indeed an extraterrestrial plan, or simply Plan ET. The Master of Wisdom. He was known as, quote, the Master of Wisdom because he studied all the tablets and collected all of the writings onto pages of Cadmon and records of the things that went before him from the tablets to scrolls. He was an MC, a recording artist. You know what I mean? His mission was to convert and turn the people of Cain, living in the land of Enoch, the disagreeable seed, back to a peaceful way of life, now called Al-Islam, those from the seed of Cadmon. The people of Cain spent most of their time sinning and suppressing the truth, right? They traveled from the city of Nod to the city of Enoch, being of the disagreeable seed, singing and dancing. Told you he was an MC and a music artist. People was coming to the concerts, to the shows and whatnot. So look, Aliun El had made them migrate to the very powerful city called, quote, Nod, then many other names. It was the home of the 200 Garubet, who fell to earth, headed by Halal, son of Shakar, who had one third cast out of Malakut. Malakut, the abode of the messengers, from Malak, you know what I mean, angel or messenger. You know what I mean? We was talking, and it's a lot of research being done into um, where thoughts come from, because people tend to say mind and point to their brains, but the brain, you know what I mean, is just a receiver. You know what I mean? It just receives the information, but where is the information coming from? And that's when you get into the realms of Nasut, Malekut, and you know what I mean, Lehut. You know what I mean? The spiritual planes, or the planes that you travel within the mind. Mental planes, mind planes. Mind playing tricks. And while we talking about that, and you can see what's on the screen, let me show you this symbol right here. In Kreba. that happens to be the character K. Right? Let's see. Let's go on a quick let's go on a quick trip across Google Earth before we get back. Alright. See, we was talking about. See, we in 1565, right? Because Kevin L, who records for and with Yemi BWO, which is Black World Order, who released a record called 19 Pages of Inspiration, had a track entitled Inspired by Harper Square. Since we're dealing with the 11, let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember that image. The symbol K, as in Kevin L, right? There's that same symbol right there. And it also looks like the Uche and the Nuwapic letter I. But this is where we moved to in the 70s. Woolly crown, tough skin jeans. That's where the father car was, the yellow Monte Carlo. That's where I played with the wind up Evil Knievels that Willie and crashed. That's also where I looked through the back of the head of the $6 million man. You know what I mean? Toys. You know what I mean? That'll teach you something. And now looking through the eyes, you see, ba-da-dun, ba-da-dun, ba-da-dun. You know what I mean? Hua. That's new stuff right there, though. That wasn't there always. That's new stuff. But ironically, BWO. So it's there to be seen. You know what I mean? If you're using your perception. And Enoch was about using that perception. You know what I mean? To be able to perceive the Anunnaki or the Malaikat or the angels or the messengers or the messages. Know what I mean? So let's drop on out of that. Just wanted to share that real quick. Let's hop back to this. So, there's the character key as in Kreb or Kreba. You know what I mean? Showing you how this stuff show up. There's the other one. See? Fee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is the gaze. So let's continue on. So we just gonna do tablet one. So Adafa was the first to fight in defense of Alien L, the first to write with the pen on scroll from the Enuma Elish, and the first to sow. As a mortal, he devoted his whole life to obtaining paradise. But he did not rush toward death because he devoted his whole life to doing good in the earth. So, by leave of Alien El and the 24 elders, Akatriel, Anafiel, Azabogel, Barujiel, Kemuel, Kael, Galgaliel, Haniel, Uphiel, Uhuel, Metatron, Raguel, Cardisin, Raduariel, Raziel, Rikbiel, Mahai, Shamuel, Yanin, Suriel, Yafafia, Zagzagal, and Sandalphon once appeared to Adafa in the form of a very beautiful virgin, Virginia and Virginia, as a test to see if he would pass what no mortal has been worthy to pass before. So, let's see what Adafa's test was. So come with me, said the disguised Anunnaki, and you shall do any acceptable work of Alion Alionel. For my younger sister has been carried off by the unrighteous descendants of Cain, the disagreeable seed, who lived in a city named after Enoch, son of Cain, trying to mock the master teacher who was confined, or who has confined her, in the furthest regions of the west by the agreeable of your sword. I humbly implore you to help me to deliver her. So Adafa of the agreeable seed put on his sword and took a bow, and with the wedged walking stick he followed her from daylight hour to shadow hour, through the desert and desolate areas. Saying not a word, he looked not upon her with a seductive eye. At shadow time he erected a tent, and he laid on the ground and he laid on the stone ground at its entrance. She offered to share her tent with him, and he replied, quote, if you have something to eat, give it to me. She pointed to a sheep which was roaming through the desert without a keeper, and he said, quote, I prefer hunger than theft. This sheep belongs to someone else. The next day he approached and continued in his journey. Adafa followed the virgin and uttered a word, and he complained about nothing. As the dusk period approached, and he was nearly overpowered with hunger and thirst, they found a bottle of water on the ground. The virgin took it up and opened it. She beseeched Adafa to drink from it, but he refused, saying, some luckless person has lost it, and they will return to seek it. So during the shadow hour, Adafa had eluded all the wiles of the virgin, who had endeavored to draw him near her, while she insulated the tent from the severity of the climate. It's hot. So Ailion El caused a spring to gush forth at his feet, and a date tree to rise up with choice fruit. So Adafa invited the virgin, whose name was Baruiel, to eat and drink. And Adafa went and concealed himself and hid behind a tree, awaiting her to return to the tent. After a long interval of time, she didn't come back. He then stepped into her door. And said, "Who are you?" Quote, "Who are you?" Singularly, maiden. Who are you? These 2 days you have been without nourishment, and are you even now willing to break your fast? For Alion El has miraculously supplied us with food and drink, yet you are still fresh and blooming, a dewy rose in spring. Shit with the poetry, right? Your form is full and rounded like the moon in the 19th shadow hour, despite our abstinence. Unquote. The elder Metatron answered, I am the aider of the Anunnaki of death, sent by Alion El to test you, but you have conquered. So ask now and he will assuredly fulfill your greatest wishes. Adafa replied, if you are the aid of the Anunnaki of death, take my soul. Quote, death is bitter, she replied. Quote, do you desire to die? Adafa then answered, quote, I will pray to Alion Alion El to translate me once more, so that after the terror of the grave I may serve him with great zeal. Metatron returned to himself and said, quote, will you then die twice? For your time has not yet come. But pray now to Alion Alion El, and I shall execute his will. End quote. Our servant Adafa beseeched Rab, or beseeched his Rab, sustainer, permit Metatron to overcome me so that I may taste the sweetness of death. Then recall me soon to life. For you are truly El Shadidi, the Almighty, and El Rahim, the Merciful. So Metatron was ordained to take the Ruach, soul of our servant Adafa, and at that exact moment to restore it to him. Adafa wanted to see Malakut of the heavens. So, after retaining divine permission, so the journey was on its way, leaving the physical plane, entering the plane of force, right? And Metatron took a handful of pollen and threw it in his face, irritating Adafa's respiratory system, you know, the wind. Thus, the pollen caused Adafa to sneeze in the plane of force above the physical plane. Alright? Because things is taking place on multiple planes. Thereby exhaling his very soul. At this moment, the Anunnaki captured the soul of Adafa. The Anunnaki took Adafa's soul on a journey through the seven heavens. After showing him the above, he then returned with him to the fourth heaven called Malakut. And later, when Adafa's soul was ready to return to his body, the Anunnaki said, quote, inhale. Right? So you just don't hold in your breath. And Adafa inhaled his spirit, making his body and spirit once again. And Adafa exclaimed, quote, it was great. Sound like they was getting like crazy high. Or trying something. Right? Ever since this sacred occasion took place, many people of our seed so have suffered from pollen. Right? As the spirit embraces his flesh, he requested that the Anunnaki show him hell, so that he might be a warner unto mortals about the spiritual realm that is below the earthly realm. See, there is a spiritual realm that is below the earthly realm, as well as above the earthly realm, right? That's them two magnetic fields. He requested that a section of the community of Kedmon's nation, they continued to walk in the path of wickedness because of the hardness of their hearts. So the exhortations of Adafa of the agreeable seed had no effect on them. Anu is El Rahman, the yielder, and El Rahum, the most merciful. The yielder, the merciful. He is constantly sending guides and warners to lead mortals to the truth and the path of righteousness. The warner for the children of Cain. Adafa was appointed warner for the children of Cain who lived in the land called Enoch, named after Enoch of the disagreeable seed. This is narrated in the 30 tablets of Adafa, wherein he taught them 72 different principles. Our servant Adafa was successful in laying the foundation for 100 towns and establishing divine precepts in countries suitable for all as well as for those who were native to the land, right? How to live in harmony with one another. He appointed 4 Anunnaki men to be his helpers. They were 4 sons of the 23 elders: Ayalanus, Laos, Ascalonus, and Amun. Unfortunately, as time passed, people began to worship these wise men as deities. These elders possessed an abundance of universal knowledge which was bestowed upon them by Aliun Aliun El, being once Etherian, incarnated in the flesh. These Aluhum returned to their etheric state, their E state, etheric state, your E state. So by traveling with this knowledge throughout the cosmos, they helped to maintain the universe's rhythmical harmony. Because it's music, you know what I mean? Our servant Adafa invited people to the true faith, which is the oneness of Anu. He also urged mortals to deal justly and to leave the abode of superstitions and falsehoods, for these things will surely lead mortals away from salvation. These are simple principles. Our servant Adafa ordered prayer and fasting at certain periods, and similarly, he was given the power to wage war against anybody who tried to destroy the peaceful way of life, now called Al Islam, not to be mistaken with the Muhammadan cult today, of these days and times, broken up into many denominations and sects under the guidance of the disagreeable ones. He zealously fought against the children of Enoch's nation from the land of Nod, and Enoch's the disagreeable seed and descendants of Kedman. Because after the violation in Gan, the enclosed garden in Eden, delight on the earth realm, many of them strayed and indulged in all forms of intoxicants, claiming that these intoxicants were lawful because the earth yielded them to Enoshites. Such is the case with the smokers of hashish, cannabis sativa, the coca plant, or the 26th family of the papaveraceae. Right? You know them plants. You know what I mean? Them trees, them shrooms. You know what I mean? This is the drug culture right now. But what of those plants that are harmful to Enoshites, poisonous? Would a fool partake of them as well? Adafa asked. The answer is yes. The fools amongst the mortals will seek all forms of mental experiences, desiring to evade the mortal daily responsibilities, and even call it religious ritual. Such are fools, and fools do what fools do. Might be gods, but not no goddamn fools. Adafa, servant of El. The people were instructed by our servant Adafa on how to set up sacrificial offerings and on how to sight the new moon, because he was so in tune with the other worlds. He was constantly teaching about the relationship of Enoshites to the universe, for he was our first astronomer, who was teaching the ancient sciences of ancient biology that was accepted in those days and on up until the universe changes. Writing and tailoring were also first introduced into the society by our servant Adafa, writing and making them clothes, that apparel, tailoring, making it fit, tailor made. Always remembering the beauty and power of Alion Alion El, he worshipped his creator 12,000 times a day. Yeah, 12,000. Constant thanks. He was always in tune with the celestial bodies, and he constantly talked with the Anunnaki, extraterrestrials. Now to switch. As I, Adafa, revolved around the skies, I restrained Saturn for 30 days, and I became acquainted with the truths and the necessities of the upper realm. I have ascertained the secrets of the invisible world. Adafa was on the mothership, one of the many motherships that visited the Earth's realm from time to time with the masters or extraterrestrials. Blessed with the ability to prophecy, Adafa informed the people of the number of news bearers who would be born and sent into the world. He also taught them about the coming of Nephishtim and the flood. Adafa was in tune with the celestial beings that originally erected the pyramids. They are visitors from other galaxies. One of the great pyramids was built to preserve all of his friends' texts during the period of the flood. Right? As previously stated, Adafa was born in the lower part of Tamaray, also called Kemet or Egypt, in Havila, Nubia, and he traveled throughout the world. When he reached, the Most High exalted him to an elevated station, or should I say, when he returned, the Most High exalted him to an elevated station. When he returned, the Most High exalted him to an elevated station. In the 30 pages of the Scroll of Life, you know what I mean? Ketubat Shil, right? Which I put a picture up of. Anyway, in the Sehufet Shilkedman pages of Adam, it states that it was preordained that he would be granted life in paradise. The sixth realm. And the sixth realm ties in too. But once while visiting the tranquil and resplendent sixth heaven, a realm set aside for those who have never defected in the way of Elion Elion El or slipped from grace, the agreeable Anunnaki Serufet and disagreeable Anunnaki Gerubet, who also occupied this esteemed place, questioned him as to why he was dwelling on this heaven, which was designed for the elite. So keep in mind that the agreeable and disagreeable was on this plane, the sixth plane. Which is those, you know what I mean, who do what they do. The Anunnaki of the disagreeable Anunnaki, Garubet, were unyielding with their cynical questions, for they assumed Adafa to be Cadman, who was beguiled by the treacherous Halal, and consequently fell from his exalted position. After undergoing the anguish that was delivered by the unknowing Anunnaki, Adafa's heart swelled and he began to weep. Murdoch, the quote, leader of the Anunnaki, descended from the seventh heaven, and the body tries to force air through it. Intrapulmonary pressure, which is pressure within the lungs, increases to as much as 100. The pressure in the chest cavity is increased, and as a result, the membranous back wall of the trachea windpipe collapses when the glottis is suddenly opened. The difference between atmospheric and intrapulmonary pressure drives air through the passageways because the trachea has been narrowed by the collapse of the membranous back wall. The velocity of the air through is great. All things being mirrored, the same thing occurs, you know what I mean, on the plane of force. which again was alluded to earlier in this first tablet of this chapter 11 of the scroll of Adafa. So we are almost at the conclusion of this tablet. Adafa sees Shil. Then Israel translated Adafa's body. Adafa requested that he show him Sheol, also known as Sijin and Kurnugi, meaning, quote, the land of no return, which is known to you as hell, from the German goddess Hil, goddess of the furthest section of Niflheim, a northern land of ice, mist, and darkness. Yeah, you would call that hell. You mean where it's cold all the damn time. Remind me of like north, up north. Anything, I mean, up past New York. New York and up. Where that snow be. So the entrance of Hill's area is guarded by a dog of the most foul and uncouth behavior named Garm. And after this, Adafa entreated him, manifest before his eyes the wonders of paradise, from the Middle English paradis, from Old French, from Latin paradisus, from Greek paradisos, garden, enclosed park, paradise, from Avestan, paradisa, enclosure, park, pari, around plus deza, wall. So an enclosed park. And by the command of the glorious creator Anu of the universe and of the heavens, Enlil, and of the and by the command of the glorious creator Anu of the universe and of the heavens, Enlil, and of the hell, earth, Enki, ruler of the lower world, Adafa, he was seated on the wings and was transformed from body to soul. He was seated on the wings, put on a plane, on the wings in a ship of the Anunnaki of death, so that he could arrive at the heavens and lastly paradise, where he spent an hour contemplating the rivers, the fruits, the pubescent maidens, and the blessed abode paradise, speaking with Hatin, the extraterrestrial record keeper of Ilion. Hatin. After some time, the Anunnaki wished that our servant Adafa would return from the garden, but Adafa, being aware of the state of the world, sat under a tree of life and refused to reply. Right? Yeah. While seeking refuge under this tall tree, he resisted all the questions of this guide, saying, unless the creator of paradise removes me, I shall not leave this place. I shall not come out from here until the omnipotent, glorious creator of the universe orders me to do so. The Anunnaki yelled so loud that all the hundreds of thousands of Anunnaki called out all the names of all the people that were born. As they called out, each leaf of this tall, lit up tree, which bears the name the green tree, or what is known to some as the Lot tree, or, quote, tree of certainty, and the strong wings of their voices blew many leaves to the ground of all that were to die in the great floods. That wind is going to precede that water. This is the same time, or this is the same tree of the 100 bows in the midst of the moon circles. Say that again. This is the same tree of the 100 bows in the midst of the moon circles. Let's look that up real quick. Alright, pull that up. The secret meaning of the tree of knowledge. Right? Let's pull that up and see what it says. Understand. But where is... So they go into the brain. See? See that? This is what's coming along with all of this. Just let you type it in. And that's how it come. This is how you be guided. That's how your guidance comes, how your guidance system works, what you guided to. Trying to find that 100 bows. Like power chain. Didn't have what I was looking for, and yet it had what I was looking for. Tree of 100 bows in the midst of the moon circles. And I'm sure that it is some sacred geometry. See what images come up. A little bit of check out the cartography. It's a map. A map of what? What is this a map of? I don't know. But before I forget, let me save it. And go to it. Graphic images. These is maps. This map, which is called the Yerevan Metanadaran. Metanadaran. Yerevan Metanadaran. Okay, this is the holy city of Jerusalem, shown with its 6 gates, each inscribed with its name in Armenian. The circular legend around the city reads, quote, the city of Jerusalem populated in ancient and recent times by the Israelites. Right. The Armenian phrase reads, Benekui Hinyev Nor Avernats Kakag Israel. Let's Vore Yeruzagan. So there's the New Jerusalem right there. We're gonna keep on because it's getting interesting to me too. Alright, go back to the geese. I done showed you the images, you know what I mean, of some glyphs. We're gonna see some more of those as we go on. Before the flood, Florence on the way. So, this is the same tree of the 100 bowls in the midst of the moon circles. Meanwhile, El Shadi, the Almighty, sent Murdoch to speak between both of them. Adafa asked about death, and the Anunnaki replied, quote, every individual shall experience death. Adafa continued, quote, I have eaten of the poisons of life, and accordingly none of you will partake of it. I descended to hell, and according to the command of Elion Elion El, the Most High the Highest, and I witnessed the concern of the inhabitants of paradise. Then the divine injunction arrived, and by my permission he entered, and by my permission he acted. Read that again. Then the divine injunction arrived, and by my permission he entered, and by my permission he acted. Leave him, for the right is on his side. Our servant Adafa was raised to a higher place. The right is on his side, like all the planets right now. It's all on the right. So leave him, for the right is on his side, and our servant Adafa was raised to a higher place. So he was taken into paradise, where he worshipped Elion Elion El in the sixth heaven with the Anunnaki, and they all continued to do what Elion Elion El commanded them to do until predestination overtook him. Until predestination overtook him. So he entered into heaven with the aid of Metatron in a ship called Sham, and he questioned El Rab the Sustainer, and El Rab the Sustainer answered. Our servant Adafa was immediately separated from his body and was conveyed to the heavenly temple, and he was appointed to worship Elion Elion El in the company of the Anunnaki. Originally, time was measured by the moon, and there were 354 days in the earth year. Our servant Adafa was sent to prophecy for 57 years after the ascension of Kedman to a higher life. He received 30 pages in all the doctrine, exactly with the teachings of what Kedman received. He had knowledge of the secrets of the heavens and the realm of the spiritual, and how to travel from galaxy to galaxy. He was called by many, quote, the father of spiritual teachings, or, quote, Sufi, Essene, Megas, Freemason today. He was well learned in the sciences of the arts, human nature, the existence of interterrestrial and outer celestial beings, and the rotational formation of the planets. The physical appearance of this great prophet was very unique. Picture in your mind a tall, slender, very dark brown complexioned man with a thick mustache and a beard, high cheekbones, and a strong, muscular bone structure with a thin layer of skin to clothe it. He spoke very slowly, but his words meant so much. He was always silent and had his eyes raised toward the heavens, except when walking, then his eyes cast downward. He always looked like he was meditating on something, and when he spoke, he moved his pinky finger. Being once asked how a good opinion may be acquired, he replied, by dealing honestly and civilized with everybody. He also asked, what are the greatest blessings? Three in number: meekness in the time of anger, liberality in the time of death, and compassion when in the position of power. He also said, he is wise who despises not three classes of men: his father, the scholar, and the friend. That is our son, Adafa. He is of the truthful. And as for Halal and his 200 sons, or Garubet, the breach took place prior to the flood of Utnapishtim, Noah. The breach took place prior to the flood of Utnapishtim, Noah. And they manifested in the physical form that their incurable disease would be apparent to you. For now you see him, as well as feel him, as he lives in your midst. For on the day of standing you have no excuse for loving him and his. And we too came down and placed our seed in the daughters of mortals, that we may establish a kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. 23 Sarunaat, first. His dangerous nature makes it imperative that we arrive at an in-depth understanding concerning the ancestry of people. For we must recognize the specific realm of activity assigned to each being, the leper and our children of many hues and colors. Read that again. His dangerous nature makes it imperative that we arrive at an in-depth understanding concerning the ancestry of people. For we must recognize the specific realm of activity assigned to each being, the leper, and our children of many hues and colors. Many are deceived into thinking that this includes the devil's children, and it means that we fashioned you on earth in the likeness of the most precious garden with all sorts of beautiful flowers. And at the end of the strain is the leper engrafted germ. He is a deceiver who calls himself good, but he is not, for he is a temple in which his father Halal dwells. He will come out in the fourth son of Utnapishtim's second son, Ham. His seed will be known by their lack of color and their leprous disease, cursed from the very day they are born until judgment day. Don't mix your seed with Cain's children, the black devils, nor the sons and daughters of the 200 Gerubet, the pale devils, nor the children of the graftation, the Hulub, not even the cursed seed of Canaan, who manifested in the Utnapishtim's time, who is called Noah. And Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And that is the end of Tablet 1, El Sarunaat Shil Adafa. Entitled Will, the story of Jared, or the story of Adafa, son of Jared. Adafa, the student that was the son of the descent or the fallen. How else would you know about the fallen unless you was among them? To see what it was, right? So, that's it for right now. Hit you up the next time. Again, let me show you the glyphs that show up, just to show you. Pay attention. I mean, it's been for me to see things from above. It's like the prayer of Osiris. You gotta use your perception to see. You know what I mean? You're communicating with yourself. Bim, 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 bim. Bim, bim. Bim, bim. Alright. And don't forget, Florence is on deck.